Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, and welcome to our recording of the Family Meeting Podcast. We're glad you're with us. What a way to spend Valentine's Day.
I have got my festive shirt on.
And I have my festive nails and jewelry on.
She came out in a black shirt and I was like, it's Valentine's Day. What are you doing?
But Abigail painted my fingernails. Abigail's our third daughter. She painted my fingernails hot pink. So, I mean, I don't have a whole lot that I can wear with hot pink. I don't have like a lot of hot pink shirts.
You just need any other shade of pink. It's in the same family.
No.
Yes. Pinks go with pinks.
You can't just wear like light soft pink with hot pink nails.
You can. It's literally in the... It's literally in the swatch thing.
Tell him.
It's in the family.
No. Tell him, guys. Girls, tell him. Tell him I'm right.
No.
I love it when other people tell him I'm right.
I do graphics constantly, and they have a little family.
Here we go.
They got a little color wheel family, so you know what goes with what.
Listen, this is not graphics. This is...
It does not clash.
Style.
Because you have a light pink mug with your fingernails that does not clash.
I did pick this light pink mug today.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you could have wore a pink shirt and been fine.
You want me to go change?
Yeah, I'll start without you.
Might be the best podcast ever.
We're the Ostercamps. I'm Thomas, and well, she's not here today, so...
My wife left me.
This will be the fastest episode we've ever had. 10-minute episode.
Yeah, because you don't have a lot to say usually. Actually, on the podcast you do. You talk more on the podcast than you do in real life.
That's because it's like, it's a safe environment. Like, socially, there's no energy going out.
Do you not feel safe at home?
I do feel safe at home. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying, though, you talk more in the podcast than you do, like, at the house, like here, in a regular setting. You're a very quiet man.
Well, in the podcast, like, you're forced to be quiet and let me talk.
Okay, so it's my fault.
So that's how it goes.
We are a perfect pair because he's an introvert who's quiet. I'm an extrovert who's loud. And so we fit together like puzzle pieces.
The worst part is when she's been talking all day and then all of a sudden she's just like, talk to me. Like,
yeah.
Like, this is not how this relationship works.
Then he's like,
So.
When I say talk to you, you don't talk to me.
No.
You usually wait it out and pretty soon I start talking again.
Yep. Just wait long enough. If there's enough silence, usually it's about a half a second.
Yeah, I'll fill that void.
So hopefully you're having a great Valentine's Day. Hopefully you took some of the suggestions we talked about last week, put them into practice. I'm excited for the Valentine's Day we're going to celebrate today.
Yes, Thomas doesn't know exactly what's happening, but I'm putting Valentine's Day on for him this year. So when we wrap this up, he's going to have some surprises and we're going to have a great time. Mm-hmm.
All about me today. Finally.
You deserve it.
I don't even get my own birthday celebration.
What?
My birthday has to be about this one over here.
Oh, stop.
Where she wants to go to dinner.
Oh,
and this or
stop.
that.
Nobody's buying it, baby. Nobody's buying the song you're singing. Mm-mm.
Well, Valentine's Day, and you know what Valentine's Day leads to? Kids. So, today's episode's on parenting and not love.
Yeah, we did love last week so that you guys could be prepared for today. But today we're going to talk about parenting since we talked about love last week.
So, episode 177.
What's our topic today, love?
We're going to talk about life's not fair.
Maybe that does have to do with love.
Yeah. All's fair in love and war, so it's not a love. Life's not fair, but everything's fair in love and war.
I feel like sometimes the person that you married and the way your life turns out is just not fair.
Yeah, me too.
Happy Valentine's Day.
So cruel. See what I'm saying? All right. Are you caffeinated enough?
Not at all. This coffee's very hot, so that was like my first drink. It was still a little too hot.
Okay. Well, we got to start anyway.
We got to.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The Family Meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Ostercamps. I'm Thomas, and this is my wife, Walkie Talkie. She's walking and she's talking.
Always. Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 177 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to discuss teaching your children one of my mom's favorite lines. Life's not fair.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that growing up?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Who said it more, your mom or dad?
Probably by mom, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't, have I said that to our kids? Have you heard me say that to our kids? I can't think of a time that I have.
No.
But both of our moms did, so
I know I said it.
So you've taken on the torch.
Someone has to. One of the parents has to. So
Yeah.
I've taken that on myself.
Okay. And I wonder how many times you have heard your children say, that's not fair.
86 times a day.
Yeah. We hear it. I remember saying it. And we all have this sense of justice in us. We want things to be fair for us.
Right. And it's typically from our point of view.
Yeah. But it's very rare that you hear your child complaining when their sibling gets a smaller piece of cake.
Yeah, exactly.
I
No,
got a
no, Mom, it's not fair. You gave me the big
Yeah.
piece. Let me
This
give
isn't
half
fair.
of this to my sister.
Right. That's not when we complain and say life's not fair. Right. So, they never, that's not how we look at justice. We want justice for ourselves, but not necessarily for others. It's not as important usually until it affects us. And the truth is life isn't fair. Our moms were right. Life is not fair.
Yeah.
And we need to help our kids understand that and get to the point where they can accept that. So we're going to kind of talk about that today.
Before we jump into that, it is just 2 weeks away until our first group members only call.
Wow.
So it's coming
fast.
very fastly. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow, February 29th. And I'm looking forward to some time spent together with our listeners in a more
too.
intimate setting on Zoom, having a personal conversation. And this month, we're going to be talking about conflict resolution in marriage.
We never have conflict in our marriage.
Absolutely, we never do.
We're lying.
She's lying.
We have conflict in our marriage. We know you do too. And so that's why this is going to be a good topic.
So $6.99 a month, and there'll be that monthly coaching call that's just for members only. We'll have a private Facebook group just for our members. We've got a worksheet to make sure that you can take some actionable steps on whatever the topic is for that month. And we're going to be doing some fun giveaways. We've got some merch that we're going to be giving away just to our people in our members only group. You won't be able to get it on the website or anywhere else. So
I can't wait.
jump on to familymeeting.org, hit the shop tab, and you'll see that monthly coaching call right there. So we'll see you in that call in just 2 weeks.
Sounds great. I'll be there. Okay, I want to ask you parents who are listening a question. Do you ever feel the need to make as much of everything in your kid's life as fair as you possibly can? We'll let Thomas answer first.
I mean, I try to.
Yeah.
I try to be fair.
Yeah. Me too. I have this like very real urge to try to make sure it's fair. Like if one kid I know did the dishes last meal, I try to make one of the other kids do the dishes this meal. Like we don't do chore charts. That's not my thing. We try to, because our life is so, everybody's going in different directions. So the chore chart would not really work for our schedule and stuff. But I try to make sure that like, it's not the same kid doing dishes all the time. If one kid gets a treat, I try to make sure everybody gets a treat. I want to be fair.
I don't pay that close attention to it. Like overall, I try to make sure things are fair overall. But honestly, I don't really care who did the dishes last. Like if you're here and you're not doing anything, then you're up.
It's your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if I'm like this happened just last week. It happens often, but you were gone and I had to take Abigail to her appointment for her contacts. We finished up with that appointment. She was the only one with me, so I said, "Hey," and she had a little bit of a rough time in there. So I said, "What do you think about stopping and getting a muffin?" So
Muffins are Abigail's thing.
So we went to Wawa and she got a muffin and something to drink. And I didn't buy anything for any of the other kids.
Absolutely.
And then I can't remember if it was the same day or the next day. I had Catherine and Isabella with me because it was her college class. And Violet was off somewhere else. I had to drop her off at band practice.
You were Mr. Mom that day, those 2 days.
Yeah. But I had to pick Catherine and Isabella up from their college class, and we had like half an hour before we had to be there to pick up Violet, and there was no time to go home. So we stopped at the grocery store, and I was like, you guys can get a snack. And we didn't get anything for anybody else. So it's like, actually Violet was the only one that week, I think, that didn't get something special.
Oh, poor Violet. See, I want it to be fair. I immediately have sympathy for the one who didn't get something.
But like she wasn't with me at the time, and so it's just like,
which you can understand from Violet's perspective how she could say that's not fair. But when you really look at the details of these scenarios, it is fair. You know, it's about who was there at the time, what was going on in those lives. But I really have this urge to make sure that everything's fair, and I work very hard to pay attention to who did the dishes and who got what and all of this. And sometimes I'm like, why am I killing myself over this? Like, why am I devoting so much mental energy to making sure that everything is fair in my kids' lives when nothing is really fair in life? Like, that's not how the world works. Nobody else is making sure that things are fair for me.
Right, because nobody's like, okay, Lysandra, you did the dishes last meal. Let me take it this time.
No. If I'm doing dishes, my kids very quietly slink away.
I'm like, yes, we're on the hook today.
Yeah. And I think the girls know that, like, if I'm in the kitchen working and I turn around and I see one of them, I'm going to give them a little task, even if it's simple, like, hey, just throw that back in the pantry or whatever. And so they will very quietly. I remember watching Isabella. Like, I saw her. She didn't know, but I could see her out of the peripheral vision. I watched Isabella literally tiptoe backwards out of the kitchen, trying to make sure that I didn't see her. Yes, she got some chores.
That's funny.
But they, nobody's trying to make it fair for mama with dishes.
Or, we get a flat tire, and I never say, oh, well, I changed the last 86 flat tires.
You did.
It's your turn now. Or, hey, the toilet's clogged. I'm always the one who unclogs the toilet.
Yes, you are. God bless you.
So it's just
we do what we do. Yeah, it's not always fair.
Well, and that's the thing. We're trying to relate to our kids. Mm-hmm. There are certain things that we look at and we absolutely want to be fair as we can all the time. Mm-hmm. But overall, life isn't fair. There's just work that has to be done. It doesn't matter how many times in a row you've done it. There's just certain things that no matter what happens in life, it's probably not going to be fair.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So we just can't make everything in life feel fair.
Right.
There are too many variables. And you think about just with our kids, all right? So we're talking about kids right now and that whole realm. So we have 4 daughters. And so you just think about the variables that come with across 4 daughters. You've got different ages, including our oldest daughter being 18. So there are certain things that we're going to let our 18-year-old do that I'm not even letting my 16-year-old do, even though they're so close together.
Yeah.
Right. So age, behavior.
That's a big variable.
Time, amount of supplies, unawareness, forgetfulness. These are all variables that go into just everyday life. And it's like, yeah, if I had the supplies, that would be one thing. Mm-hmm. Or, if you've told me ahead of time, we would have had enough time.
Right.
In order to do something. So,
yeah.
Because of these variables, we can never make everything in life absolutely fair.
That's right.
And as we all know, life isn't fair at all.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's funny, too, because we know that we can't make everything fair. And yet there is another extreme that I think is also very negative, and that is not thinking about or caring about injustice at all. So, if we live our lives in our home where one kid literally does dishes all the time and the others are sitting watching TV, that is an injustice that really shouldn't happen. And if we as parents are like, well, too bad, life's not fair, constantly, and we don't have any care or concern for injustice, I think that can become a very unhealthy extreme as well. We have to care a little bit.
Well, and I think the point of teaching them that life isn't fair is to be on the lookout for injustice. So that you can stand up and do something. And so it's not that we're just teaching them that, hey, it doesn't matter, life is just going to mistreat you or whatever, or it's okay to mistreat somebody else. No, the point, for me anyway, is teaching my kids that life isn't fair. And so you be looking out where it's not fair. And you stand up to do something.
Yeah, and you try to be fair to others and step in for others when they are being mistreated or whatever. I also think, though, if we don't care about whether things are fair or if there's an injustice in our family, we're talking in the family setting, it can lead to our children thinking we have favorites. And the bottom line is that may be true.
Yeah.
So it's something I think we need to think about. Like, we've got to bring up the other side of the coin. Like, we've got to play the devil's advocate, if you will, on this. Of course, I believe that not everything has to be fair and we don't have to bend over backwards making everything fair for our kids. But let's think about the other side of this as well. If we're not caring at all about what's fair, it may be because we have favorites. It may be because...
So which one of our kids is your favorite?
I don't have a favorite. How about you?
I can't say it on the air.
Thomas has this belief that every parent has a favorite, and if they say that they have no favorite, they're lying.
You've got that one kid that you would rather spend time with. You'd rather go on the errand with this kid versus some other kid.
Some other kid.
Right?
You mean one of the other children that I gave birth to?
Yes.
Some other kid.
Those,
other rando.
So, is that, I'm not asking you to say a name. Is that true, yes or no?
I am not going to say that I have a favorite. So I say no, I do not have a favorite. I do have children that at certain times are easier to deal with.
But you'd rather take them, or you'd rather spend time with them?
I can't say that because when I think about each one of my kids, I'm like, no, I do want to spend time with them.
I know.
I can't say that. I can't honestly say that.
No, but listen.
Okay.
Here's the scenario.
Oh,
no,
gosh.
No
this
cheating.
isn't even what this episode is about. You are taking
I know, but you brought up favorites.
Okay,
so I'm just,
fine.
And you drug me into this conversation by saying Thomas says. So here's the thing. Right now, you're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to run out the door real quick. You take one kid with you. Do you know who you're going to pick? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, then. That's all I'm saying.
That doesn't mean that's a favorite child. It means it's the easiest one to go on a grocery store run.
Fill in the blank, anything other than grocery store. It's the same kid. Whatever errand you're running, you're taking that kid. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
So this is really funny. Listen to this, you guys. We had a listener suggest that Thomas and I do an episode on a topic that we disagree on, and we debate the topic on the air. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool idea. But I couldn't think of anything that we really, like anything worthwhile that we disagree on. But I guess we disagree on favorites, and here we are debating it on the air. So,
but you
that listener got what they wanted.
You all see my point. Now, you may not like to call it your favorite. And by it, I mean your kid. You may not like to call them your favorite because you feel guilty about that. You've got the mom shame and the mom guilt and whatever else. But that's what it is. If you would pick one kid over all the other kids in almost every scenario to go do something, that's your favorite.
Do you think that dads have guilt over having a favorite? Because you just said that you just like assumed that all the moms.
Most moms. I think it's more of a mom thing than a dad thing.
You think that dads are like, yeah, I got a favorite, whatever.
A lot of dads, yeah.
I want to do a poll now. Family meeting community. We got to do a poll. Okay. We got to make that happen. Okay. Anybody remember what we were talking about today?
Life's not fair.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So, and I think when you have a favorite, you're teaching kids that.
So we are pro favorites now. Oh my goodness. I hope that people can sense when we're being sarcastic. Otherwise, this is a hot mess.
But one of the things that you, in the conversation about life's not fair, I try to bring back around to help us to focus on our own lives. Because let's be honest, most of us listening to the podcast, like, we're doing pretty well in life. If you really stop to think about where we are currently, we are richer than most of the people that have ever walked this planet. We've got more stuff, more benefits, more comforts than most of the people who've ever walked the planet. Okay. And so we want to try to keep things in focus and relate to our kids how much they have been blessed.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on in your life, you have been abundantly blessed.
And we all need that reminder.
And not just that, but think about spiritually, because as we talk about often, we are Christians. And so if you think about what is fair, and that word fair is the idea of we get what we deserve, right? We get what we deserve. And truly what we all deserve spiritually is to be paying the price for our own wrongdoing, for our own sin. That's what I deserve. I deserve to be paying for my own sin right now for eternity in the lake of fire. That's what's fair.
Right.
And so I don't necessarily always want what's fair. I don't always want life to be fair.
Yeah, we act like we want life to be fair, and we think that we like that we want to always have life fair. But the truth is, when we really think about what is fair and what we deserve, I don't want what's fair. I really don't. I want God's mercy and God's grace.
What we really want is we want what we determine to be fair.
That's right.
That's what we want. And so it's a complicated conversation to have, and as most things with parenting, it's never easy to know exactly where the line is and what to say and what not to say. But I do go back to the point of, for me, having the conversation and teaching kids about life isn't fair is so that you can understand how well you have it. There are so many people that have it way worse than you, that are suffering wrong, suffering injustice, in abject poverty. Okay, what can I do to help them in their situation?
It brings a lot of perspective, which is great. And I think back to when my mom used to say, well, life's not fair. There, as a child, there's nothing you can say back to that. Like they knew what they were doing. They cut you off. Because you want to say, like, that's not fair. He got the last piece of pizza. And I swear in my family, we were always arguing over the last piece of pizza. My mom was a manager at Pizza Hut. And she would bring home, like, pizzas that didn't get used. And we would also get, I think one of her benefits was like 2 free pizzas a week. So we would have dinner every Sunday night after church at Pizza Hut and have our like free pizzas. But we had pizza all the time. And yet we fought over the last piece of pizza. I remember my brother licking all the pizza so that he could have them all. Yeah, I ate that pizza.
I bet you did.
I was like, you can't stop me. Okay, but anyway.
What is it about pizza, though, that brings out that selfishness in all of us?
I don't know, because we want the biggest piece.
Yeah.
We want the piece with, or the most toppings. Like
So we
have problems.
Family day on Friday. We went to this pizza place in town, Napoli. I'd never been there before. Amazing pizza. If you're in Palm Coast, you've got to try it.
It is really good.
So the 2 large pizzas come, and I think we got some garlic knots ahead of a time. And so it's funny just to sit back and watch everybody. And so you notice, like, okay, the garlic knots come first. And watching people try to pick out which garlic knot they actually wanted the most.
Do they want the bigger one or the one with more garlic on top or whatever?
Yeah, and so and then the pizza comes, and everybody's like, they want to make sure they get the kind they want. Don't want to have to eat the other kind, even though it's like we got a lasagna pizza and a chicken bacon ranch pizza.
Oh my goodness, they were so good.
They were both so good, but make sure you get the right kind, and then make sure you get the right piece. And so even I was sitting by the lasagna pizza, and you had asked for a pizza.
Yeah.
Piece of lasagna pizza.
Which I didn't care at all. Like, I wasn't even eyeballing topping. I didn't even care. I just wanted a piece of pizza.
And I went to give you a piece, and you're like, what? Why are you giving me that one? Like,
No.
Like, what's going on?
Wait a minute. Okay, here's what happened. So he picks up the spatula, and he was going to give me the piece that was closest to him, and then he got up. Like, I think you actually got up from the table to go around.
No, I didn't get out of my seat.
You're like, I would never get up.
Exactly.
Okay. So he leans like around to get the piece farthest from him. And I thought, did he just decide that he didn't want to give me that piece because it was like better? And he went further away to get me like a crappier piece of pizza? I was like, why'd you give me that one? Why didn't you give me the one closest to you? And I was too far away to actually see the sizes of the pieces or what was on top. But I was trying to figure out what was going through his head.
But you see the judgment already was like, he's getting the best pizza for himself.
That's what I assumed.
And that wasn't the case at all. Like,
no, you went and you explained yourself that you went over there because there were better toppings on that piece.
I thought the topping ratio was better on that piece. And that's the one I was going to give to you. And you thought the worst of me.
Well, can you blame me? I mean, we're talking about history here. So
I'm a saint.
You were that day. He gave you the better piece. But I was just asking. I was just curious.
But there's something about it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Pizza is one of those things where if you really want to know who somebody is, sit down with a pizza with them and just watch them.
Yep, absolutely. But my mom would say, life's not fair. And I could never come back with anything. There was nothing to say after that. You can't be like, yeah, but I want too bad life's not fair.
Yeah.
And so in a way, her saying that really did teach me. It wasn't like we sat down and had in-depth conversations about life and what was going to happen. But I do believe that she kind of prepared me for the fact that things don't always go your way with saying that. But can we as parents go a little deeper with it, right?
Yeah.
When your kids get angry and irritated that things in your family or things at school or whatever are not fair, let's use these opportunities to teach them how to handle when you feel injustice. So tell them, yeah, life's not fair. Explain to them that things don't always go the way you want. You don't always feel like you get what you deserve. Mm-hmm. But now let's talk about how to handle that. Do you throw a fit? Do you try to go and take what the other person has? How do you handle when you feel that injustice? And so this is a great teaching opportunity. That's how we can look at this. Let's look at all these things that come up in our lives as teaching opportunities where we can teach our children. We can teach them how to eventually get to the point of acceptance. Because really, ultimately, the faster we can accept the situation that we perceive as unfair, that's the sooner that we can move on with joy and contentment.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we don't get that way, if we cannot accept things when they are seemingly unfair, we become resentful, bitter, angry. Does that sound good? It sounds terrible, right? We want to get to joy and contentment, so we have to accept when things are not fair. And if we can't accept that things aren't fair, I mean, and it's often when we feel like life's unfair, we can really create a miserable life for ourselves. It can be like all about pity party and bitterness and everything. Just, we need to get to the acceptance. Okay, yeah, it didn't go my way. It didn't happen the way I thought it should. Okay, and accept it.
And you can move on and figure out what the next step from there is. Mm-hmm. So I also think it's important for us to teach our kids that there are many situations that feel unfair. So it's not necessarily that it is unfair, that it's some great injustice that's being done, but in the moment, from my point of view, it feels that way. Mm-hmm. And often if we weren't so biased, we would be able to see that the circumstance is actually fair and it does make sense. Okay? So once again, we're talking about our family setting and situation. Our 13-year-old, who's our youngest, has felt in the past that it's unfair that her older sisters get to do certain things or go certain places. And it felt unfair to her, but as we can see, it was fair because they were older, they were old enough to go and do these certain things, and her time would come as well.
Mm-hmm. And we could see that her time would come. But when you're 13, or well, in this case, maybe 11 or 12, you feel like that will never happen.
Yeah.
It feels like forever. I was the youngest, so I remember this. It feels unfair and it feels like it lasts forever.
Yeah. And so there were times where our youngest had to go to bed earlier than her older sisters. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things about our girls is once they turn 16, they get a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more freedom to learn to make decisions on things like hey, when should I go to bed to make sure that I'm rested and things for tomorrow? And so hitting some of these milestones where they get to do certain things and have certain privileges, but hey, that the other girls don't have. And often what the other girls fail to focus in on is that, hey, you got a lot more responsibility too.
That's right.
But hey, the older girls, we as parents could understand, hey, they can handle staying up later than she could. And not just that, they also have the ability, at least our older girls do have the ability to know, okay, I'm tired, I'm going to bed.
That comes with maturity.
So, but if our 13-year-old stayed up, now Abigail, she's our third. She almost never stays up late.
No, she's first one to fall asleep.
She's usually the first one to go to bed. Every once in a while, she will. And then the next day, she's like, can you believe it? I was the last one up or whatever. She's so proud of herself. But see, our 13-year-old will try. And there's been times where she's like, whatever reason, I don't know if it was friends or she just got in her head, I want to stay up all night.
Yes.
And if she stays up too late, she gets cranky, she gets irritable. And the next day is rough. And so it's hard to get schoolwork done. It's hard to get different things done. She doesn't relate well socially with her sisters or anybody else. And so she needs to have the bedtime.
Yeah.
But in the moment, she can't see all that. She just sees, all right, they get to stay up later. I have to go to bed. This isn't fair.
Right. And so often, even we as adults, if we really think about it, there are times when we feel like things are not fair, whether it's in our work setting, our marriage setting, our family, our extended family settings, where we feel like things are unfair. But a lot of times it's just because we don't have the ability to see things from other perspectives. We only see our own perspective. We have tunnel vision. And so if we can just work toward seeing things from other perspectives, try to look through the other person's eyes, and what if I were in their shoes and how would they see it? A lot of times that can open things up and help us to get to the point of acceptance. Now, sometimes there is a time to stand up and question injustice.
Totally.
And I think this is something we got to teach our kids too. Maybe we do need to stand up to this thing. Maybe we do need to respectfully question it. And I will say in the Oster camp home, we encourage respectful questioning.
Totally. Yes. If you don't understand and you really want to know, ask me.
Yes. Now, your attitude coming into question is important.
Sure.
We're not about being like, oh yeah, that's stupid. Why did you even do? No. That's not respectful questioning. So respectfully question, Mom, I don't understand. I want to understand. Can you tell me why you feel like it's okay for my sister to have that and I get this or whatever? But respectfully question it. And you can help your children to know when to stand up for an injustice and when to accept it's just not fair because life's not fair and get over it. So let's talk about an example. Say your little sister got to stay out until 10. And when you were her age, you had to come in at 9.
So I have a brother who's 17 years younger than me.
Let's talk about that.
And so
Thomas is feeling some injustice.
It's like this scenario, right? Mm-hmm. But there are things he got to do as a kid, or not just that he got to do, but even the way like he could talk to my parents.
Oh, yeah.
He could talk to my parents in ways that if I said that, I would be laying flat on my back somewhere, trying to pick my teeth up off the floor. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things. This example that you gave hits home with me because I saw this happen.
And it was unfair.
They treated him differently than they treated me.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's not just a perspective of being unfair. It really is unfair. But you know what? This is one of those things where why fight this? Why question this? Why try to change your parents? Accept that it wasn't fair. Your parents simply chilled out and relaxed a little as they got older. It's unfair, but it's not something to fight. It's not something to stand up for. It's not a hill to die on.
No. But I remember
But you definitely complained about it.
Oh, yeah. I remember coming home from college and hearing Jonathan say something to my mom, like talk back or whatever, and I'm just like, ooh, and I'm like standing back waiting for it to happen, right? My mom's going to get him. And nothing happened. I'm like, what in the world has happened? Like, what happened to you, Mom? Come on, get him. I'm waiting for you to get him.
Yeah, and it was unfair. Have you yet, at 43 years old, have you yet come to the point of accepting that unfair injustice?
No.
I didn't think so. You sound a little bitter.
No, I'm still waiting for them to get Jonathan.
Yeah, he's like 25. I think you can let it go maybe.
Yeah. Which I look at who Jonathan is and I look who I am, and I think they maybe did a better job with Jonathan than they did with me. So maybe they had the right approach with him. I don't know. So
I love you.
He's doing great. I'm proud of my brother, but yeah, it's this little illustration here, example that you gave. I was like, that hits close to home.
Yeah,
right?
we can see. Now, there may be times when we do want to teach our children, yes, stand up for injustice. The first thing that comes to mind when saying, yes, stand up for injustice is when it's for someone else.
Totally, yes.
If you see someone else being mistreated, someone else where their situation is unfair and injustice has been done to someone else, stand up for someone else. Fight that fight, yes. But I don't know. Is there a time when... There may not be a time when things are unfair in your home where it's time to stand up, but definitely questioning respectfully is always appropriate in our opinion. So maybe Violet, our youngest, does want to say, Mom, I have to go to bed at 10 and they can stay up until midnight. I don't understand that. It doesn't seem fair. And I'll say, okay, well, here's the reason that you have to go to bed earlier is remember that one time I did let you stay up until midnight and the next day you couldn't finish your schoolwork for the day because you were so upset and it was because you were tired. And so I'm fine with respectful questioning anytime in any feeling of injustice or unfair. And we see that a lot with the dishes in this house.
Yeah.
I did the dishes last. Like, oh, if I hear that phrase one more time, I don't know.
You poor thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you eat today?
Yes. And so this is kind of my line for that. My kids will often say this. They'll say, I just did the dishes. And this is what I say. We all just did the dishes. Every single one of us. We eat 3 meals a day. Well, some of us eat 3 meals a day. Some of us eat 2 meals a day. But there's always dishes being created. Dirty dishes are being created constantly. That means, yeah, you just did dishes, but so did I, and so did she. And so you just got to get over it, and you just got to do it. But anyway, that's my little tangent there.
But we do have a couple of kids who on their own will do the dishes, and if the other couple would let them, they would just let them do it all the time.
And they would never ever step into it.
Right. So there are times where I call certain daughters to do certain things specifically because I know the other two on their own have done things.
Yeah. And there are times when our kids will not respectfully question. There are times when they come to us and it's the whole, I just did dishes. I do dishes all the time. And that's not what we want to teach them when they feel like something's unfair. That's not okay behavior.
Yeah, and so part of that is teaching them how to respectfully ask those questions when they think something's not fair. Excuse me. We talk about tone all the time. These are conversations, this is part of conflict resolution and part of confrontation that has to happen in relationships sometimes, but how you approach somebody, the demeanor, the words that you use, the tone of voice, all those sort of things, the timing, and we talk about these things a lot. And I think one of the things that we can do is we can learn a lot from the life of Esther.
Yes.
And what a great story that is about how to have these conversations, how to stand up for what's right when you need to. And so there were times where, hey, she saw an injustice that was happening, and so she had conversations, she asked questions, but then the time came where she just had to do something, where her voice wasn't being heard. It was a time people's lives were on the line, and so she stood up and said, I'm going to risk myself to stand up for injustice. And so that's part of the teaching process here. And I think using all the tools and all the different things around us to help educate our kids in these different areas is great. I mean, here we are in February, which is Black History Month. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to teach our kids about some of the injustices that have happened in our country, and some that continue even going on in our country, and use this as an opportunity to teach our children about these brave men and women who saw injustice happening and took the steps they felt like they needed to take in order to help the people who are around them who are suffering that injustice. And that's exactly what Esther did. And so using, how do we have the conversation? It is an important part of life. Is teaching them how to do that.
Let's bring that down to a real life scenario. Okay, so we're gonna let Thomas be one of our daughters. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. So a real life scenario that happens in our home is when the girls. It's always stupid stuff, right? You guys know this. It's always stupid stuff.
To us.
That's how it feels. To them, it's very, very important and very real. Our kids hate doing the baseboards in our house. So every so often, the baseboards have to be cleaned, right? And so...
It's funny because I don't even notice them until you said something, and then I just look at them and see what condition they're in, because I don't notice them on any time of any day.
Yeah, I know. I know. Oh, wives, you feel my pain, right? Okay. So every so often the baseboards have to be done, and none of the girls like them. But that's the last choice. And so if I tell one of our daughters that it's their turn to do the baseboards and they just did them the last month, how would you teach them to respectfully question my decision to have them do the baseboards? What should they say to me?
Yes, ma'am.
I like it. Can you train your kids to do that? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. To me, not
that bad.
That's not an injustice type thing.
But they believe it is.
Yeah. That's not a fair or not fair. Like, everybody's doing something in that scenario. If we're at the time where we're doing that sort of cleaning, everybody's doing something.
Absolutely. But they truly believe, we're talking about what they perceive as unfair.
Yeah.
And they truly believe that it is unfair for them to do the baseboards when the other one gets to sweep and mop. They want to sweep and mop. They do not want to do the baseboards.
Yeah.
They feel like it's an injustice because the last time we did a deep clean, they had to do the baseboards.
Yeah, I hear you.
So how should they respectfully question me?
I would just be like, and then once again, the tone of voice, and we've talked about this already. Mom, can I remind you of something?
There you go. Yeah, I like that.
And so I'm asking a question. I'm asking for permission to speak about this. And so then if Mom gives me permission, I'm hey, remember last time when we were doing all the deep cleaning, I was the one who did the baseboards. And I just want to ask if I could do one of the other jobs instead of baseboards this time.
And I would say, absolutely.
And can I pick which sister I want to do the baseboards?
Exactly.
Because this sister was mean to me yesterday, and so I want them to do baseboards.
Yeah. And then I'm going to have to deal with that other sister because they're going to be like, that's not fair. You said I could do the sweeping and mopping.
Exactly.
But I'll deal with them later.
And that's when you turn around and say, life's not fair.
Yeah. Exactly. Is this not our lives, moms? This is so what happens. This is real. It's exhausting, right? Okay, last thing, and we're going to finish up this episode. Here's what I want you to think about, moms, dads. How do you react when life is unfair? When you perceive that life is unfair to you? You deserved the promotion and someone else got it. How do you feel when something at church, like you have a responsibility at church and it was taken away from you to give to someone else? You feel like that was very unfair.
Or somebody else gets recognition for something you did.
Yeah.
Like public recognition. And you can't be the person who stands up and is like, no, that was me.
Yeah. This is unfair. That was me. No. Yeah. Right. So how do you react when life is unfair in your perspective? Because this is it. Your kids are watching you.
Oh, yeah.
They really are. And your example is the most effective teacher. So we as parents have to really be thinking, What do I say in the car on the way home? What do I say when I come in from work at night? What do I say? What do I do? How do I act when an injustice has happened in my own life? Because it will.
Yeah.
An injustice will happen to you. How do you act? It might be something that we need to work on, and then that's the best way to actually teach our kids.
So family meeting tonight. We want to get the whole family together. Well, it's Valentine's Day. Maybe not tonight. This week, you'll have your family meeting with a whole family. And just here's a question I want you to ask, and I want you to listen to what every member of your family has to say. And that is, do you feel like things in our house are fair? Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And if they're like, well, what do you mean? Well, when it comes to chores, when it comes to
like rules,
special things that happen,
privileges,
is it fair? Do you feel like it's fair? Mm-hmm. And just listen to what everybody has to say, and use that as a way to have these conversations about, okay, in those circumstances when you feel like it's not fair, this is how you approach that. This is how you talk to me about that. This is how you respond and ask questions or raise a respectful objection. And then we're going to segue into a conversation about paying attention to the world around us, the people who are around us, and the injustices that happen around us. Are we willing to stand up and say something? Are we willing to stand up for those who are being mistreated? And so having this conversation with your family, you're using your immediately family scenario to have a discussion that impacts the people around us.
Thank you for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org, or email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a text or call us, you can send a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we talk about finding what you look for. Now, Thomas, you can't ever find any of your stuff, can you?
No. But I look and I look and I look and it's nowhere.
Right. And then I know exactly where it is. But that's not what we're talking about. If you look for the lovely, you'll find the lovely. If you look for the positives in your marriage and in your spouse, that's what you'll find.
Look, something lovely. I found you.
Hi. But if you look for the negative, you will absolutely, without a doubt, find it. So we're going to talk about next week, what are you looking for?
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
Hey, Valentine's Day. Hope you've got a great day planned and an even better night.
Totally, yes. But you need to stop what you're doing right now. Go to familymeeting.org, hit shop, check out that family membership, the weekly group membership call that we're going to be doing.
Got it.
2 weeks until that gets started. And very first call, we're going to have a good time together. So it's more than just us talking to a camera with no response. We can chat with each other.
Ooh, I can't wait.
So we'll see you there.
Bye.